Welcome back to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. It is officially tick season. And now, according to a new CDC report, we have to worry about ticks at the beach, at least close to the beach. We asked Dr. Ben Beard, the CDC expert on ticks and Lyme disease, about the report. Doctor, thank you so much for your time today. We spoke a couple of years ago when you came to New Jersey for a symposium on Lyme. Things have changed since then. I saw an article that was out that was based on a CDC finding that ticks have now found their way at least near beaches, if not on beaches, because vegetation has come back around beaches on protected areas. That's New Jersey, where wildlife has come back. If wildlife is in these protected dunes and the vegetation around those dunes, does that mean that we also have ticks in those dunes?
Basically, anywhere you have wildlife, you're going to have ticks. And the ticks, these animals are the key hosts where the immature stages of these ticks are developing. So the larval and nymphal stage ticks are developing on these small rodents and then larger mammals and things like that. And then they might feed on a small mammal, and that's where they erode, where they get infected with the Lyme disease Borrelia. And then they drop off, they molt, and then they crawl up on vegetation to look for the next host that walks by. And they do this behavior we call questing. They actually crawl up on the end of the grass and they stick their hands out with their claws and they just wait for something, with the first thing that's warm and breathing carbon dioxide out, exhaling it, to walk by, and they jump on it because they know that's their meal ticket.
Well, environmentalists are going to love you because you just scared everybody from walking in the dunes, and nobody's supposed to go in the dunes. They're protected anyway. So you're saying if you're going to the beach in New Jersey and you stay on the paths and stay away from the vegetation, don't even rub up against it, you'll be fine with these ticks?
Yes, I mean that's critically important. Stay on the trail. And the thing about that is that when you think about it, the trail is beat down, it's dry, it's more exposed to sunlight and elements, and these ticks are not going to survive in that area. They don't like that. They want to get over into the vegetation and crawl up and down on the vegetation, and so that's where you're going to get exposed to the ticks. So stay on the trail, and you'll be a whole lot safer.
The last time we spoke about New Jersey, you talked about it being ground zero for ticks. Is that still the case?
Well, it is. And New Jersey, and we may want to talk about this a little bit later, but the surveillance numbers, we've really, they've taken a hit from all the public health emphasis on COVID and the fact many of us are doing double duty on this national outbreak, international pandemic. But so the numbers are down and we're slow to get them, but that doesn't mean the disease cases are down, and certainly doesn't mean the exposure risk is any less than it's ever been. And in fact, if people are spending more time outside, then they may be at higher risk to the potential bite of an infected tick than they would have otherwise been. So, but New Jersey is, I think maybe they were the second highest numbers of reported cases in the U.S.
Right. And let's talk about the effect. You said we want to talk about it later. Let's talk about it now. The effect of the pandemic on all of this. During the pandemic, you said the numbers were down. That's probably because people weren't outside as much and staying in their homes. What about the population of ticks? Would that increase during the pandemic because there's not as many people outside?
Yeah, good question. We often think about, say, mosquito-borne diseases, for example, as good years and bad years, because mosquito-borne disease outbreaks are really what we call episodic. They occur in episodes. And one year you could have a bad West Nile outbreak in a particular area. Another year you could have a Eastern equine encephalitis outbreak. With Lyme disease and most of these tick-borne diseases, when you think about it, ticks have a 2-year life cycle. So changes don't happen really quickly. And I often say that if you live in an area that's endemic for Lyme disease, every year is a bad year. I mean, you can take that to the bank because exposure occurs in those same places each year. And what's different is that area where it's endemic is expanding. And so we are having more counties across the US where we're finding these ticks, and more counties where we're having larger numbers of tick-borne disease cases reported. But for New Jersey, especially, every year is a bad year, so you cannot let your guard down, especially as we move into this warmer time of the year when people are spending increasing times outdoors.
I just talked to someone who said they were going to get their property treated for Lyme disease. Does that work?
Yes, I think that the important thing is to treat the areas where deer are likely to be moving and small animals, and where people are most likely to be exposed to the bites of these infected ticks. And you might have to treat more than one time to get effective treatment. I've talked to people in New Jersey, especially, who found that just one time treatment per year, it knocks the ticks down, but they come back later in the season. But if they spray maybe twice a year, once at the beginning of the summer and once again kind of mid to late summer, maybe 6 weeks or 2 months later, they get good control of ticks. And so, and I want to emphasize that there are a number of different tools that we can use for preventing ticks and exposure to ticks in your backyard. There are a number of insecticides to use, and as long as you use these the way they are labeled by EPA, you can count on them being safe and effective. And but there are a number of non-pesticide methods you can use by putting up fencing around your yard that could keep the deer out, by using vegetation that the deer are not attracted to, and there's some certain shrubs and things like that that are not good deer food, and so you're not going to be attracting the deer into your yard. There are actually little boxes that you can use that have bait in them, and when the mice come in to eat this bait, they crawl under a little wick that actually has pesticide on it and kills the ticks that are just on that one mouse. And so those are all available for use in something we call integrated pest control, integrated pest management. And we have links to that at our website on how to protect yourself from the exposure of ticks. We call it on people, pets, and property. So you can look at all of those things at our website to see what tools are available for a consumer to protect themselves from the possible bites of infected ticks. And this is in addition to using the things we always say, like wear repellents, do tick checks, shower after you've been out in these areas where ticks are found, and throw your clothes in the dryer on high heat for 10 minutes to kill any ticks that are on your clothes. And then, of course, be vigilant. And if you get some sort of fever or rash after being out in those areas, see your healthcare provider. Don't wait.
Right, because Lyme disease is treatable, especially if you catch it early. Is that right?
Exactly. It's one of those diseases that if you catch it early, it typically is easy to treat. But if you miss it, either don't diagnose it, or you don't get some of these telltale signs that we always tell people to look for, or you don't recognize those, and the disease gets established and it disseminates in your body into multiple organs, it can be very difficult to treat. And so early and accurate recognition of the illness and treatment is really critical.
When you were here a year ago, or a couple of years ago, for Chris Smith's symposium in Wall Township, he was looking for more funding to fight Lyme disease because it is such a problem in New Jersey. Are we continuing to make advances? Because I know some people are chronically suffer from Lyme disease.
Yeah, that's a great question. And since we last talked, I was actually thinking back of some of the things that we've been able to do since then. And actually, it's been pretty significant. I mean, for one thing, we got a brand new pesticide, a natural product insecticide called Nucatone. We worked with our sister agency, BARDA, and with the Environmental Protection Agency to get this product registered. And so it's a brand new active ingredient, and it's a natural product. It's actually originally isolated from the peel from citrus peel, from from grapefruit, and it's also found in Alaskan yellow cedar bark. And so, so this compound, it has really good activity against ticks and mosquitoes, and it's also a natural product that's found in some food products as both as flavors and fragrances. And so that makes it, we think, a lot more palatable to consumers, and particularly consumers that might be hesitant of use of synthetic pesticides. And so we licensed this product out we discovered it at CDC and licensed it to a company to be able to produce it. And they actually developed a way to mass produce Nucotone at a fraction of what it cost to isolate it from grapefruit peel or from Alaskan yellow cedar bark. And so now that has been registered with EPA, and there are several different products and formulations that are now being produced as well, and they'll have to be independently registered as well. But these are things like lotions you could put on your skin that would kill or repel ticks, a spray that you could spray in your house, other things like other products like that that are underway. So that's a huge advancement that we've been able to achieve collaboratively with partners.
Well, that's wonderful. Why is there a Lyme disease vaccine?
There is a Lyme disease vaccine right now that is going through phase 2 clinical trials with FDA, and it will probably be a few more years before it would be available on the market, but it is right now going through clinical trials, and there are plans for phase 3 clinical trials, which would be the next stage in this. And it's hard for me to say when a vaccine might be available, but it could be as early as 2024.
It's promising.
Actually,
so far the trials have been promising.
Yeah, from what we've heard, the trials they look very promising. And to be certain, this vaccine is based off of improvements from the previous vaccine that used to be licensed for use. And so they took basically a similar approach, but they added to its range of effectiveness, so it is protective not just simply against single strains of Borrelia burgdorferi, but that we have in the U.S., but some that are in Europe as well. And they also did some other modifications to hopefully provide a greater assurance of safety of the vaccine.
Well, that's wonderful. We're in tick season right now, right? Spring.
We are definitely coming into it, and as you probably know, May is Lyme Disease Awareness Month, and we are about 5 days away from May, or 4, something like that.
Well, by the time this airs, it'll be May, so it will be
May. Okay, good enough.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Doctor. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your expertise, and thanks for sharing it with us. Dr. Ben Beard from the CDC. Coming up on Jersey Matters, it's that time of year again. Time for the New Jersey Festival of Ballooning. It's back. We'll talk to the man in charge next.